I played some classical chess. Yes, last weekend we had the Icelandic League. I was playing from a club, the Reykjavik Chess Club. I'm recording, well, the club is right there. And, well, it was an eventful weekend. I played a lot of games, a lot of interesting games, some good chess, some blunders, but overall very happy. Now, this was my first game of the weekend, and it was played against the club that eventually won the competition, Fjölnir. Congrats to them, they won all their 10 matches. We had tough matches against them, we could have won, but things didn't go our way this time. But let's check it out. So I had the white pieces, and this is my friend Sigurbjörn. Of course, we have a very tight community in Iceland, everybody knows each other. We've been teammates for the same team for many years. Two teams actually, Hellir Chess Club and Westman Islands. And we went to a tournament together, both as a group, and one time we shared an Airbnb when we played in the Nighthawk Memorial in Poland. And it just turns out that this is my fourth time playing him in about 2 years. And every time I had the white pieces, so we have this battle of what will I play now, and this has resulted in 2 short draws where we just know each other too well. Last time we played, we did also play the King's Indian, and I beat him. So I wasn't sure what to expect. But, okay, d4 knight f6, I decided before the game I'll play c4, which I did, and he played g6. So I was expecting e6 or g6. If he plays e6, he's been going for some nimsos. He's been playing the Semislav as well. So I had some idea what I wanted to play against each of them, but nothing too deep. There's 1 hour you get before the round, where you know who you're going to be playing. But he did expect to play me more than I expected to play him. And that's because, they expected us to have our main team. If you take somebody out, everybody has to move up. But he sort of predicted that he would play me. And he was very well paired for the King's Indian. So we play the King's Indian mainline, and we play one of my favorite variations. I usually play knight f3, bishop e2 doesn't really change much, but bishop e2 kind of threatens to play the Averbach, bishop g5, which I have played. So I basically played bishop e2 just to make him spend some time, but he played immediately, so it didn't really matter. And we just transposed to the main line, knight f3. He plays e5 and castle, all well-known stuff. And, King's Indian players, they love to go knight c6 and play the Mar del Plata variation. The knight c6 d5, and you have these pawn storms on the wings. But last time we played, he did play knight b to d7. So I was kind of expecting that. But he played knight g6, which made me happy because this is one of my favorite variations. So I played d5, knight to e7. And these are all book moves. I've been playing this variation for over a decade. Never lost in it in a classical game. Great results. I beat the #1 Icelandic player. I played it in the European Club Cup. I was winning against the Grandmaster. So very fond memories of this line. Been 2 FMs as well. So I like this line. So even though he's prepared, I'm happy to play it because I know it's good. But you're always a little bit worried when your opponent is playing fast as well. So what happened basically, we were playing these moves immediately, more or less, knight f6. So we both have, our starting time plus the added 30 minutes on our clock. c5, g5, this is all well known. And in this line, the plan is pretty clear. Black wants to attack on the king side. His pawn chain is pointing towards the king side. And meanwhile, the white chain is pointing towards the queen side. So he's going to attack there, hope to break through, and then turn right before we get mated. That's basically the plan. The rook c1, knight g6, and knight b5. So pressure on c7, I'm threatening to take, and then use the rook and the knight in combination and gain access to c7, so he plays rook f7. And now, over a decade ago, I noticed this line with bishop a5, which Svetuskin, grandmaster from Moldova, who sadly has passed away, was playing this line, and I became interested to play this. I thought it was an interesting line, forcing line, and I seem to like the position, so it's been one of my favorite lines ever since. So b6 is played, and now I play immediately c takes d6. He took here pretty quickly. Usually when I play this, I play here immediately. I don't really know the lines here. I just know that you take, if you take this, I take on c7. I know it's supposed to be good on the computer. And over the board, you just have to figure it out. You know you have the computer on your side. These pawns are very dangerous, far advanced. And just, trust in your ability to find moves. But he, took on d6. I went back bishop to e1. Now the bishop wants to come to f2, where it stands well for attacking the queen side and trying to defend on the king side. a6, kicking the knight away. Black needs to do this. I played the best move on knight c3. I have played knight a3, but even though I won the game, b5 is a good move there, which my opponent missed. Otherwise, knight a3 makes sense. But I played knight c3. And now white really wants to play knight here and knight here. So a5 is the critical move. And when he played that, I knew, okay, well, he checked this line pretty well, so he knows what to do. So this will be a long and tough game. I played bishop f2, bishop f8. And relatively quickly, I played knight a4, which is a novelty in the database, but I played this move before. So knight a4. And the funny thing is, we were on move 21, and there was no game whatsoever in the whole playing round, even remotely closed. I played knight a4, I walked around. I think other games were at maximum like move 10, 12 or something. So we have plenty of time to reach move 40. But the position is so complicated that we both ended up in some time trouble. So okay, knight a4, and here we started to think. And I think the best move is rook b7. I've played this once before. My opponent did play rook b7. And here, white has some ideas. You can play like b4. Rook c6 is also a move which I probably would have played. I think I played that when we played this last time. But I played rook b8, which did surprise me. I was expecting him actually to play something like knight d7. When the same thing applies, I would either play b4 or rook here. But rook b8 surprised me. And I was kind of hoping, when I played knight a4, I thought, okay, rook b8 is normal, but it doesn't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because I can take here. And when he played it first, I thought, maybe he just missed it. If I take here, he thought, if I take this, it's going to be with check. And I don't have time to take on c8. And it's actually black who wins. At least much better. But I took on b6. And if he takes, of course, I change the move order and I take on c8 first. And white is much, much better. I won a vital pawn on the queen side. I get to keep this bishop in the defense. The game is not over. That's a good thing about the king's Indian. You can even blunder a pawn. You're still playing for this attack. You're playing for mate. Mate ends the game. But here white is doing very well. So seeing he couldn't do that. Also, I spent some time on bishop takes b6, thinking if maybe this is the move. Because if rook takes, take on c8, I go here. But I thought after queen c7, I have to retreat the knight. I don't have this square, which would have been ideal. And I would have to go back to a4. And I thought, okay, this knight is pretty bad. And if I compare to the other line, then at least I have the bishop. It's here, it goes back, instead of having this bad knight on a4. So I thought, okay, knight takes b6 must be the better move. And I thought for a while before I took, because I thought, he can't be blundering this, it's too obvious. So he has to have an idea. I don't know if he blundered it or if he had an idea, but he played bishop a6 here, which I think is the only move. Computer agrees. Bishop a6. And now he's threatening to take, so I have to spend time on retreating, so knight c4, and now he gets in g4. He's lost a pawn, but okay, in the king's Indian, the attack continues. Again, I thought for a while, he's starting to attack. I need to find something. I was happy to find the move bishop to e1 here. The idea is, if he plays g3, I was going to play pawn to h3. Now, as it turned out, he did play g3. And I started to think, and I started to see some ghosts. And I did not play h3, which I very much regret. The reason I wanted to initially play h3 is that he doesn't have his bishop on c8. And this bishop on c8 is one of the most important pieces for black in the king's Indian when you're trying to attack on the king side. You have to have this bishop so you can sacrifice it on h3. Either you take on g2 and then sacrifice on h3 or vice versa. So I thought h3, I thought the only way to do something would be to play bishop c8. But here I started to see ghosts. If I play knight takes a5, now I think it's in time to start sacrificing. And you can think about moves like, I think knight h4, or maybe even take it immediately. Something like this immediately might just work. G takes, maybe I can flick in knight c6, but okay, I was worried about stuff like this, because I don't have time to protect this pawn, because knight h4, and this is just lost. So I have to avoid stuff like this. So I was trying to calculate, but couldn't fully make it work. Bishop takes a5, it's probably a good move. Queen e7. And rook e1, and I should be able to defend here, because I made time for this. And I don't think, I was looking, okay, knight h4, bishop f1. Looks like it's too slow. It's still not over for sure. I was aware of, queen a5 check, queen a7 check possibilities, so I can't move my knight really because of the bishop hanging. But basically, to cut the story short, I started to see some ghosts, but I think objectively I can defend here. But I rejected it at the end. So I would like to study it a bit deeper, but I think h3 holds. Saw some ghosts and I played knight takes a5. Thought, okay, I get another pawn, I'm here, and now I'm ready to sacrifice on c8. If he plays bishop c8 now I'm really threatening to play h3. So I thought maybe he'll just go, out of this fork here on c6. And if he does, plays queen somewhere, rook somewhere, then I play h3, close it, and if he ever puts a bishop on c8, I'll just chop it off. Yeah, well, it just takes way too much time to do something on the king side. So he took an h2. I think it's forced. Computer wants to take an h2, but to a human that looks very dangerous, but it might objectively be just best. But I would need to, before I play a position like that, I would have to, study some lines with the computer, get a feel for, the defensive ideas, the offensive ideas, so that I would trust myself to play, in such a way. So king h1 looks more human. You use the pawn as shield. Knight h5, and here I chickened out. I played the second best move. The computer here on chess.com is a bit behind, but knight takes e5, which I played, is the second best move. Here it comes. Immense complications arise. I was down on the clock here, and after I took an e5, I managed to bring him down a little bit. I should have played knight c6, but again, saw some ghosts. In my defense, here the best move would have been knight takes e5, with the same idea as I played in the game, but under better circumstances. The main point is I open attack on this bishop, and if he ever takes, I have knight takes f7. This is completely winning for white. There's no shenanigans here on g3 because the bishop is here. So this is just good. So this is what I should have done. Knight c6 and knight takes e5. Taking a b8 looks very tempting. But black can save himself, and there's only one way, and it's absolutely incredible, and I doubt that I would have seen it or he would have seen it. But rook g7 is the only move here for black. Well, the idea is obvious, you want to play knight h4, but you can't play knight h4 first, because you lose time. I can just take it, then queen here, and I get my queen into the defense. Actually, it's kind of crazy, because I just get so much material after knight g3, I take it, let's say queen takes and knight a6, and after rook f2, he doubles, I play rook f2, I just have too much material here. That's another crazy line. Would I have seen it? Maybe, I don't know. But knight h4 is not good because I can sacrifice the queen. But rook g7 is the best move, and it's the only move to draw. Now the threat is knight h4. Now I have to play queen d2. These are some crazy lines, just to give you an idea of how crazy these lines can get. Now he plays knight h4. Should have this line somewhere. Knight h4. Now we play g4. There's an attack on g2, we can't defend it, so we play g4. Now en passant, otherwise there's no attack. Take the queen, take the bishop, gives a check, king takes, this is all forced, queens, bishop takes, now knight takes f3, and this is a draw. I don't know if this is named anywhere, but I call this the Arabian perpetual. If we go here, it's going to be Arabian mate with rook here, but here it's vital that the knight is covering the rook, so we can have this perpetual, knight covering the rook. There's no way out of this. This would have been a crazy way to end the game. Knight h5, and I took on e5. But knight c6 would have been good. With the same idea as this one. Okay, this move is not this bad, it's just saying this bad because the other one is much better. But here, okay, it's very complicated. I think he landed on the best move. He took on e5, d takes e5. Again, I think the complications will favor me if he takes on e2, knight takes f7. But there are still complications. He can take on a5 in some lines. But I was pretty sure I'm doing well here. I can take on e2. I think I can also just take this. And actually, knight g3, impossible lines here. But if he takes immediately, he's just worse. He has two pieces for the rook, but I get to save my pawn like b4 and two connected pass pawns, which will be too much. His pieces are not coordinating. This pawn will fall. So crazy complications like this. I mean, knight g3 is possible as well. I thought I had things more or less covered, but I didn't fully. He could have played. He had an idea somewhere. Yeah, probably here. After d takes e5, bishop takes bishop takes a6. Yeah, here he could have played knight g3, which I did not see. And I have to take, and he takes this. Okay, the game continues, but it's difficult. Maybe I can play bishop c4 here and get some stuff. And bank on having a lot of pawns, but it's very dangerous. Still complicated. I have a lot of pawns. Crazy positions. But in the end, after d takes e5, I took an a6. He played the natural move, rook takes b2. But now I kind of get to consolidate. I get my knight into the game on c6. And here we're starting to feel really well. Rook c2, takes, and I thought there's no attack. I'm not getting mated. And I have just a simple plan of, maybe I should have kept my bishop here. I went with it here. And I thought then I'll just run the a-pawn. And he's too slow. So knight c6, he went rook g7, bishop c8. Again, maybe I should have kept it here, especially to cover this square, which we'll see later. But bishop c8 is a good move. Computer still likes white. I took on g3, f takes g3. And now my king is kind of bad. It's basically stalemated because of these pawns. So if he ever gets the knight in on the f2 square, it's game over. But the other pieces kind of can't move, and I still thought, okay, at some point I just start running the a-pawn and I win the game. Because it's extremely fast and it's very well defended. And the black pieces are not doing anything to stop the a-pawn. So his only plan is to get counterplay, knight f4, and push the h-pawn somehow. I played bishop e6, but I think here was the moment where I should have played queen c3. I played it later, but just keep the check in reserve. And now it's very difficult for black to play, because if you play knight here, I can take the pawn. Actually, I can, after knight f4, I keep a check first. And then I take the pawn with the knight. And now we see the strength of the queen. Knight f7 is threatened. Everything looks more or less covered here. So he can't play knight f4, so it's more difficult for him to get going. So maybe, I don't know, something like h5. Then I can start pushing a4. Again, if knight f4 too early, I play bishop e6, and then take on e5. Still complicated, but you know, I think queen c3 is what I should have done. So I played the check a little bit too early. Bishop e6 check, king to the corner, and queen c3. I was still confident. I felt like, you know, put the king in the corner. You can't really move anything because then I take and I have this check. So I have to play bishop d6. And here was kind of the moment where I had to find some strong moves, and I think knight a5 would have been a strong move. I reroute the knight to a better square. It's closer to the defense, it's harassing the bishop, and still he doesn't have time for this because now I would just give a check on the back rank. So knight a5, I think I keep the advantage. Instead I play a4, but now h5. Black is starting to get the counterplay. Now the bishop is, you know, covering the pawn, so he's starting to threaten to play knight f4. I played bishop f5, not a good move. Still I can probably play knight a5. And now I'm starting to drift. Not finding the way forward. I play rook d1. Here was probably the last moment where I could have saved my position, but I would never find this, but I'm just going to show you, you know, some of the amazing lines. Okay, a5. He continues, h4, goes for the attack. Now I take on e5. Similar to the game, but my rook is on f1 instead of d1. And that makes the world of difference. Because after takes, I can take a knight d3. Okay, this threat is still very annoying, but we can play queen b8 check and queen c7. Okay, we're threatening mate, so he doesn't have time for knight f2 because I take it. But let's say he plays queen g7. We take it, which is absolutely insane. King takes and e5. Well, doesn't he just play knight f2? Win a rook, he does. We stop the promotion, but the computer keeps hovering around the 0, and I'm like, really? So I try to play some natural moves just to see what's going on. So rook c8, king takes, we're gonna make a queen. Okay, we try to keep running, king comes, push the a-pawn, and d7. Has to stop it, e6, try to stop the other one, and something like this, which is absolutely insane. Let's say you attack the pawn, I play f6, king back, f7. I think this is just a draw, like rook f4, because you can never take a pawn on e6. If you take it with the king, I can promote one of the pawns. If you take it with the rook, I promote one and then the other. So it just looks like a draw, which is absolutely crazy. But back to the game, after a4, h5, I did play bishop f5. Yeah, we have this position. I play rook d1. Trying to stop knight d3, but it turns out I don't stop it. So after h4, I took an e5 thinking I had stopped knight d3. But when he thought about it and took, I realized I didn't stop it. And if I take on e5, he's just going to play knight d3 and it's game over. Compared to the other line, now I'm just too late because it's knight f2 mate. I can't take the knight on f2. So I don't really have a square for the queen. So knight d3, I can give this check. But again, the geometry is not in my favor. I don't have this check, I don't have this check. Yeah, I'm too late to cover anything. So I can't take the piece, so I just lost the piece. That was a hard pill to swallow. But I was already drifting at that point. The mistake came one move before that. So yeah, kind of lost control, and now it's just too late. Knight d3 is threatened, so I play this just to cover c1. But he takes, and yeah, no, it's just a matter of, here I was just seeing if I had some stalemates, and in the end he traded rooks, which was correct, and he saw that he has a path for the knight, which I can't stop, just puts it on, yeah, here he puts it on e3, and I can't cover g4 and d1 at the same time, so I just allowed him to mate. I thought it was a nice pattern here with the king in the corner, so allowed him to finish it, and yeah, pretty exciting game. Overall, pretty happy with my play. Although I did, see some ghosts, doubted myself, but these positions are very difficult to play. I think overall my judgment of the positions was quite good. But, such is life. You win some, you lose some. But it was an exciting game. It was very fun to play. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it.